I posted something on Instagram a while back, and the first 4 comments I received, I made the joke of like, these are the only comments I will ever receive on anything I post ever, not even relating to Instagram. I'll have to find it again specifically, but what I do know that some of the comments were, the first comment was like, oh my god, so cute, and then it was just like all these hearts, you know, like very showing support. I approve of it. Second comment, I'm a furry, I'm getting a fursona with the blah blah blah, like insert all these colors and animals. I'm like, okay, this doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but thank you for your piece of information about your fursona. Third comment was, show me pictures of your feet. And the third comment relates specifically to anything that has to do with like, are you into inflation? Are you into vor? Are you a top or a bottom? Like overly like sexual and just like, can we just be chill? And then the fourth one is just, hey, so-and-so hates me. Can you talk to them for me? Or can you say hi to so-and-so for me? Those 4 comments, they happen in a row, and I made the joke of just like, these are the only comments I'll receive. But on the past like week of me looking at my YouTube comments, besides when I upload a video and I have the normal, usual people contributing to it, those were the only comments I saw. It literally felt like YouTube live stream chat, where there was just nothing to interact with. That's why I just stopped streaming on YouTube. The last stream I did, it was a shit show. As much as a lot of people came by and they were excited, it was cool at first for me to talk about it. As it went on, there was nothing that I could interact with. It was the same guys spamming the same question every 15 seconds for an hour. It was then people like RPing, and then it was people like yelling at each other to not spam, and then it was the same comment of like, are you a top or bottom, whatever. The other one being like, oh my god, this is my fursona. There's nothing there for me to interact with. And that's why I stopped streaming on YouTube. And that's why yesterday I was kind of feeling that way, because like I saw a few comments, and I don't know if I'm just getting all too worked up over a few things, but just I don't want Twitch to turn into what YouTube live streams were. Okay, you guys are chill, and I love you all to death, and I appreciate the people that come here to genuinely interact because they enjoy what I have to offer, not because of the fursuit, not because cute furry, cute fursona, not because cute face rig, but because it's me. I appreciate that so much more than you fucking know. Even just the people that come in like once a millennia. You are not required to come here. Do not feel like you have to come here, you have to hang out. But for those that are genuinely entertained by what I do, that does not include furry, you genuinely are awesome and you have my full respect. So that's what I was dealing with yesterday. And the rest of whatever I'm feeling today just has to do with frustrations with like the furry fandom. There's a lot of issues with the fandom. How we treat each other isn't exactly great, and how we perceive clout issues of popularity is a bit too much. Like idolization, putting people on a pedestal like me. Kind of wish it was a bit more normal, but I don't know how or where that comes from with the whole idolization thing on YouTube. Or not even just idolization thing on YouTube, idolization in general, of just like cute fursuit, hey, absolved of all sin. One thing I wanted to, like, I guess sort of discuss, which I've seen this argument thrown around so many times. The furry music creators and the furry writers, how they're so undermined in the furry fandom. That is just kind of how things are, unfortunately. Don't put words in my mouth by saying, hey, fuck them. No, that's not it. The furry fandom, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's both a good and bad thing. It's built a lot more on looks instead of how nice something feels or how nice something sounds. And the two things, or the main things that will bring, that are kind of the more popular thing, or not really even kind of, they are the more popular thing in the fandom, is the art and the fursuits. Because it's the two things that you see most often in the fandom. So that's why I said, you know, furry writers and furry music creators or furry musicians are completely undermined, because although, you know, the music might be good, people aren't coming into the fandom, even just from a marketing perspective. If people aren't coming into the fandom for music or writing. Sometimes they might be. It's very finicky if you like pair up writing with like a good art piece or something like that. It's just unfortunate to see, because I see all the time on Twitter people not complaining, but just being rather put down because like, oh, my music isn't going well or it's not doing good. It's unfortunate because that's just how the market is, which I've seen just the fandom entirely hyperfixed on art and fursuit making or content creation. Anything that you can physically see, anything that you can interpret through cute imagery, simple pictures. It's kind of like a children's book in a way. We kind of like we dumb down our our perception of how things are to like the children's coloring book sort of thing, instead of like a nice in-depth novel. And you know, I was looking at a couple of Twitter accounts recently. One account you might know, Archie Arcantale the Pangolin. He's like a pinecone fursona thing. I haven't read anything of his books recently, and I kind of want to fix that. I do want to place an order for one of his novels or books that he's written. From the stuff that he's written or helped me on my scripts, he's a fantastic fantastic writer. Like, he's really, like, fucking good. Like, better than me. Much better than me. And he could make a better script and video than I could. But it's just, I don't know if there's, like, undue credit there. I think in terms of just the whole music and anything that doesn't have to do with art or fursuits or content creation, just, I don't know if there really is a way to bring up that community. I think personally a way that they could do it is have some good, like, cover art or some good video or something to go with it, to complement it. Because unfortunately, it's just, the way I see it, the fandom is based all on cutesy art, cutesy fursuits, and cutesy content creation. I mean, look at, I hate to ring my own bell this way, but look at how I was able to, I guess, pop off. What I basically did, my philosophy on basically how I made the videos that I did for the furry fandom, is I took these concepts that were all just scribbled down on paper, just concepts, nothing with like pictures, nothing with cutesy looks, and I basically applied that to a viewable, repeatable format instead of a book. Imagine it this way. If I wrote a book or an article for these topics relating to the furry fandom that I've done, do you think they would have gotten as much attention compared to the way I had done them, or actually did them, with videos, with making it a viewable format, with making it more appealable to pretty colors, simple looks and all that? That's just unfortunately how the market and how things are. And it's just not even the market, it's just how things are perceived. To be fair with me, I'd rather watch a video than read an article. Where was I going to go with this? I remember thinking about this in the car a little bit. I guess the thing with escapism, the furry fandom is a big escape from reality, just in general, which is good because unfortunately just the real world and how judgmental people can be doesn't allow for those that might want to discover themselves or express themselves properly to have the means to do so. With the furry fandom, through like the concept of fursonas and a completely new environment, it just gives that people that opportunity. The issue though is that with escapism like that, people can kind of get used to it, a little too used to it, or get a little too indulged with it, like it's a fantasy, like nothing can go wrong. And therefore the argument could be, which I've seen multiple times from people, and this isn't my argument, this is just me regurgitating other people's arguments, is that there's no place for politics in the fandom, or there's no place for negativity in the fandom. This is all just drama. When in reality, there are some issues that aren't drama. There's some actual like lives at stake. There's some actual cases that could go through and be legitimately a bit fucky. And this kind of relates to the whole like, you are absolved of sin, of all your sin, if you contribute some good in the furry fandom, like fursuit makers, or if you have a cute fursuit. We were doing something yesterday of just like, oh yeah, we murdered a man. We didn't murder a man, actually. This was Surgeon Simulator 2. Accidentally killed Bob. And I made the joke of like, oh wait, I have a cute fursuit, I'm fine, everyone will forgive me. Which in hindsight, I could actually see that happening in the fandom. Is that sad to say that I could see that? And here's the thing, just the bottom line with regards to hobbies in the furry fandom. It is okay to want to get away from the shit in the world. I completely get it. I joined the furry fandom because I wanted to make some new friends. I wanted to be me. I wanted to express myself. But you should not forget that there are other people in the fandom too, other than you. So when issues of xenophobia, racism, pedophilia, transphobia become apparent, it can't be just passed off as drama, especially if it's an actual case. That is no place in the fandom. Well, yeah, no shit. Zoophiles don't have a place in the fandom. But ignoring it or turning a blind eye to it doesn't help either. It's one thing to live in the furry fandom with a sort of a hobby or escape mentality of escaping life, escaping the shit you deal with. But it's another thing to live in it with ignorance. That's what I want to start, I guess, teaching people. Just not to stay ignorant and want to remain stupid, you know? I'm a firm believer in, just in general, people aren't evil. Like I remember watching a video on like what makes a good supervillain, and there was one book that this guy mentioned from this author who said something along the lines of, there aren't real life supervillains where it's just like they're rubbing their hands, plotting to do evil, to do bad things to others. There's just people with their own problems trying to solve them through the means that they see are effective at solving them. And some of them aren't, you know, of course, reasonable with murder, psychopaths, assault, whatever. In terms of people that might not agree with one another as well, with those that just don't like one another or just might not see eye to eye, they aren't evil, okay? I know people that I just do not agree with that are in the furry fandom. They're not evil. No one is evil. And the way I can compare sort of the furry fandom to is a fucking high school cafeteria. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like a high school cafeteria. You got, you know, the jocks, you got the nerds, you got usual come and goers, you got these people, you got those people, and they, like, some of them them clash with one another. You got the drama, which some of it, of course, or at least most of it, isn't drama. And the way it's seen is that anyone outside of that table or that social circle that you don't meet eye to eye with, that I've also seen, is evil. That's why I mentioned the whole thing with the block button. I don't fully agree with my statement that I had originally. I thought on it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is kind of a stupid idea. The block button is just another feature on Twitter. What I personally think is, unfortunately, and don't take this the wrong way, anyone, furries are kind of naturally sensitive. Simp, yes, that too. Furries are naturally sensitive, whether it be to an insult, whether it be to critiquing, feedback, whether it be to someone else disagreeing with them. And this also goes with the escapism sort of thing. This also goes with the mentality that the fandom is this magical, wonderful escape place, and it should be perfect. It just goes with that of like, anyone that does not agree with me or doesn't see eye to eye with me, or I might not agree with on one thing, should not exist, okay? Although people might not fully say that, they might not admit that, I know some people that fully believe that and how they take blocking seriously. I reviewed my statement on the whole blocking thing of like blocking is overused. What I really wanted to say, which I didn't really know how to phrase it then, is that people take fucking furry Twitter, or just the process of blocking or someone disagreeing with you so seriously. They see it as like an absolute insult, like the worst thing you can do. And the same thing goes with like callouts. I know, and this is outside of my hubris, I know I'm a good person. What I think people need to do is not be too overly sensitive about it. That like some critique or something that you might have said was wrong. And I think it's okay to have people call you on that. Like just because I was quote retweeted and a bunch of people saw that tweet and were like, oh yeah, you know this for a YouTuber. I don't fucking care. Here's the thing. It might be some new fucking news to all of you. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like everyone. And I think that's the bottom line that I think the furry fandom needs to understand. Just because you're a furry doesn't mean you're going to get along with every single furry. And unfortunately, the mentality that people might take with it is that if they do not get along with me, if I do not see eye to eye with them with everything, and it's not a real issue, it's just like a small thing of like, oh, this guy does this. Oh, this guy chews with his mouth open sort of thing. The assumption from there, the conclusion, unfortunately, that they take is that they're evil, is that they're awful. It's just unfortunate to kind of see that. I know there's a bit of a distancing between the furry YouTubers and a group of, I guess, the furry memers, as they're called, sort of thing. I don't really know how to describe the group, and I don't want to lump people into a group, but there's people like Stixel, Spitfire, people in that sort of group, even Archie, Arkentail. I know the furry YouTubers and them don't see eye to eye, and like, but I'm gonna say it, they have a fucking point. Like, I might not agree with everything that they tweet or everything that they might do, but the points that they brought up, either about like furry YouTubers or the furry fandom in general, they're not wrong. That's why I do agree with them on some of those statements, and that's why I do talk with them about this stuff. I might automatically be like thrown away by some people for interacting with them. I do interact with Stixel, I do interact with Spitfire, and I do have friends that don't like them, but I also have friends that they don't like. I know a bunch of my friends see them, that group, as like evil, as like the worst ever, like the League of Evil trying to take down all the poppy furs. No, they have a valid point on what really might be going on with the fandom, on stuff that might need to change. And it shouldn't be taken as a direct attack for like for just a direct attack of character. People need to keep in mind that, like, you know, just because you're attacked for something doesn't mean that you're the worst person ever. And I think people need to keep that in mind as well for those that might be accusing of that. Spitfire is really chill, not gonna lie. Oh yeah, absolutely. One day after like stuff was happening, I saw their tweets here and there, I just messaged him out of the blue just to like shoot the shit and talk. And he is chill as fuck. He's chill. I might not agree with everything he might do. I might not agree with every single tweet, with every single this or that or whatever, but I think overall they're chill. It's okay to have differences with someone and still be on okay terms about it, at least to that extent. Even take me for an example with one of it. I had one sort of tweet where I was like, all right, I kind of want to do something of like furry ships on a shipment in Call of Duty. I want to do a video like that, some sort of meme video of like, you take two furries together, I'll tell you if I ship them or not. And I thought about it a little bit in the back of my head. I didn't think about it too much, but I'm like, is this going to make people people uncomfortable. And then I immediately got like, you know, a recommendation of 2 friends that were together, and now they're not. I'm like, this is gonna make people uncomfortable. And then Sixel replied to it saying, this is probably not a good idea. You should probably like rethink doing this. Now I could see, unfortunately, I could see people taking that out of context and be like, oh, you're attacking me sort of thing. I didn't. I deleted the tweet. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna keep something in mind for next time. Maybe I could do a FURSONA roast video sort of thing. Oh, it's a fantastic pun. Ship furries on shipment. That's a fantastic pun. But the way the video is, like, that would just, it would make a lot of people uncomfortable, and it would probably just not work well. Because I know I hate when I'm shipped with other people. I get shipped with Pineapple all the time, even though he's literally getting married. He's literally engaged. You know, even with that, I could see people taking that form of criticism, or that form of a sort of like a pointer as like, unfortunately, an attack. And it's not that. And I totally like, you know, I honestly appreciated Stixel's feedback on that. Of just like, hey, this actually like, this was probably a bad idea. I didn't think about it that way. A lot of people in my generation and a younger generation, a little bit under me, we have such an empathizing issue where we think like, oh, you know, I get a bad vibe from this person. Yeah, I mean, first impressions and all that, but just like, oh, I always knew they were a bad person. Shut the fuck up. Actually, people are so bad at empathizing nowadays and taking a step back and thinking, what would it be like for me to be them? And even still, it's impossible to do that if you don't know them. It's very easy to assume you know someone. And I'm hoping that, you know, with this new generation coming up, we start to learn a bit more about just that difference and that separation of just like, hey, not everyone's evil. People are allowed to fuck up. And just because you see one thing about someone doesn't mean they're entirely a bad person. It is okay to just not get along with people. If I am friends with someone and they're friends with someone who I don't like, I'm not gonna go out of my way to be like, oh, well, this person, you know, why are you friends with them? It's, again, like I said, high school cafeteria. People need to find a balance. Be judgmental, but not overly judgmental. Be critiquing, but not overly critiquing. Hold people accountable, but not overly hold people accountable, because that can just sometimes come off as belittling. I've tweeted that before about the whole thing of treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think that's just a general golden rule, but unfortunately people take that as like, oh, well, I don't have to like people. Yeah, but you need to understand that they're also human beings, even if you might not like them. I'm exclusively talking about people that are not bad people, that have not done anything so beyond like the worst thing ever. I think just because you might not like someone, you still need to respect them as a human being. As a human being. I just want people to know that my ranting or that my frustration of the fandom it's genuinely because I care about it and I want it to be better. I want the fandom to get better. I don't want us to continue celebrating the old achievements we've made. The furry fandom is very special because it doesn't revolve around one set piece of entertainment or one set franchise like the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom, My Little Pony, Sonic fandom. It revolves around this basic concept of anthropomorphized animals, and that is a universal concept that will continue to grow. I want us to be better. I want us to treat each other better, and I'm frustrated when we continue to make the same mistakes we are addressing over and over and over again. All I can ask you guys to do is please have patience for one another. Reasonable one another people that are not homophobes, transphobes, anyone that is not extremely prejudiced and hateful, unjustified hateful. People aren't evil. We're just stupid and ignorant. And those are the two combos that you never want to have in a person ever. Look at my fucking ex, for example. Look at what happened to him. But like, please have patience for one another, especially those that can be reasoned with. Please try to be open-minded, especially those that might not want to reason with others and might want to pass things off as hate. Stop, take a second, think, literally count to 10. Like, I'm giving behavioral help with this. Stay open-minded, continue to think on things. Don't let the first impression be the only impression, especially if it's Twitter, and just try to think for yourself. Have patience for others, and just treat each other well. That's all I can ask. You know, like, again, not meaning to toot my own horn with this, a lot of the people that have joined the fandom because of me are in the fandom now. All that I ask in return for me bringing you into the fandom is to help it grow, is to treat the people in it well, is to treat the fandom well. That's all.